You may have wondered why, when you were a kid, you were asked to clap in response to your music teacher. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. If I'm 11, I go, she just said titty. You know, maybe you could, I don't know, recall the piercing cacophony of 32 recorders screeching Mary Had a Little Lamb in unison, the spittle of your classmates just being flung all over the room in resonance with the painful harmonics which come from blowing too hard into those repugnant things. It's amazing. The same company that makes those things makes some of the most extraordinary motorbikes, tuning forks and violins and pianos. What a Yamaha. And jet skis. I don't know. So you might have wondered then, you might be wondering right now, why on earth did I have to do music? Look, it wasn't because your teachers believed that you were going to be the next Richard Tognetti, the profoundly talented, world-renowned violinist who's the artistic director of the Australian Chamber Orchestra. Nor was it because they thought, you know what, the next Katie Noonan, she could be here. Let's see how she goes. No. The research is clear. Early musical education has actually got a profound effect on your ability to develop things like motor skills, language ability. You can increase your cognitive function later in life, your spatial reasoning when you're thinking about things like maths and geometry and stuff, your impulse control, your social skills, your emotional intelligence, and your overall well-being. The research it's strong, man. And that all sounds pretty good. Certainly sounds a lot better than 32 recorders. But what happens when you combine all of those things, musical education, and combine that with powerful messaging about independence, good nutrition, sleeping through the night, and even toilet training? Well, you get the Teeny Tiny Stevies. So grateful that you guys said yes to this, because I'm just so excited that you wanted to come on and chat, because
Oh,
what you're doing is a really important thing. And I don't know if you might understand the impact that your music has.
I think, you know what? I feel like I understand the impact when we have people write to us and
Yeah.
share some very personal and intimate stories or situations that they have had or sort of witnessed with their kids. And a couple of things that come to mind of when parents have written about, their child who might be nonverbal, who say, they're nonverbal, but they sing to your songs, and your songs have helped in a particular way, and that's pretty amazing. That's quite extraordinary.
Yeah. You guys have, known each other a while, uh,
Yeah.
your whole lives even.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how early did the music stuff start? Who was first on the axe? Who was the first to make some noise with a machine that made
Mm,
music?
that's a good question. Yeah, probably. I mean, I do most things first, so
She does.
uh,
Bill's 4 years older than me, so I mean,
yeah,
as
no.
as kids, I idolized her.
As kid and as adults.
And
Yeah.
now,
And
clearly,
now,
I can
yeah.
see it.
So I
Um,
would say that you did,
yeah,
because
really.
as you say, you did everything
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, probably, who knows? But yeah, I'm just remembering right now first songs because mum and dad are musicians, and that's why we started making music. And I think we were almost sort of forced into it in some ways. But which is great. I'm very grateful for that now, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, like, my first song was like, "There's a cat outside the window."
Really?
Oh,
You remember that?
so bad. Yeah.
Hang on, what kind of musos were you folks? Are you about to tell me that, like, "Oh, no, they were the horn section for the models. They were amazing."
Uh well,
Well, they both had different bands
yeah.
when they weren't together as a couple.
Mm.
So Dad was in a band called the Pied Pipers
Who
in their day.
they were on a television show with John Farnham.
That's right. I
Yeah.
forget the name of it.
I've heard of him.
Don't do you believe it's magic? I think that was the show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Mum was in a band called Dove. And then when they got together, they still did some original stuff, but then it sort of shifted, I think, to more covers.
When we were little. So they
Yeah.
sort of, bought and paid off a house with their covers band. It was very successful in the 80s.
Was there a musical thing that, I mean, there was music everywhere, but was
Yeah.
there some music that made you go, "Oh, oh, that"?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we were younger, it was anything. I personally just remember just getting the love of singing and kind of discovering the effect that singing has on you physically and how good that makes you feel. I reckon, and I just got hooked on it. But then when we got a bit older, definitely like bands like Titus,
Yeah.
they had a huge impact on us
Yeah.
because Mum and Dad took us to see. Took us to the Odd Festival and took us to see, the groups that they were really into. They were usually harmony groups. And they were definitely one that we saw when we were at that very, that sort of young teen age.
Yeah, I don't think I'd seen a local band of females singing together before like that, before we saw Titus. And I that was probably the moment where something along the lines of, I can do this. I can do this.
So nice to hear the name of that band again.
I know. Yeah.
When it came to, writing your own stuff, as a young person, I remember no one gave permission to people to write their own stuff.
And that's a big part of our story. Like we started playing in front of people far too soon. Like we definitely shouldn't have. We should have spent probably many years.
But I think that probably comes off the back of having Mum and Dad who have always been so supportive and encouraging and probably made us believe that we were potentially better than what we were in the early stages,
the really early
and
stages.
So we just kind of went in blindly of going, oh, well, I guess we just do this, because
we'll just
they said that we were all right at it. So
we'll get gigs at festivals, which we did.
Yeah.
And then like
maybe just sort of starting very ambitious. But I think, that's always generally a good thing is to aim high because the worst that can happen is that you maybe don't get quite there in the first go. But you might just get there, sooner than you think. So
I'm glad they did encourage you because especially when it comes to creativity, if we didn't believe that we were good enough or no, we don't belong on that stage, and there'd be no amount of good enough or belonging that could be yours without getting on stage that would ever be enough to get you there. So at some point you just have to go, oh no, I belong there.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you figure it out.
Exactly. Sometimes in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Often. Most
Happens feedback.
maybe for a good few years you do. Yeah. And like the opposite of that is never doing it or never putting anything out, which you see that too. And I know really, really talented people that haven't put stuff out. And I feel like the only difference between me and this person is that I just started putting stuff out. I just started doing it and just putting it out. And then, whatever sort of lucky enough to have that thing inside you that doesn't hold you back.
So what is that the message for people who are listening to this, and whether it be a book or a painting or, going to go and try for a job that they've always wanted? Is that the message?
Let's make it the message.
Yeah, let's make
pretty good the message. Confirmed.
What was the message again? What was the message that we just
do the thing? Just do it.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Don't hold yourself back by thinking of all the ways that it might
Don't
go
put
wrong.
limits on yourself. I don't know. It's
it will go wrong, but do it anyway. Just do it. Especially creative stuff, because that's the stuff that makes us alive.
I mean, there's a lot of embarrassing moments that you have to sit in and a lot of discomfort that you have to sit in whilst other people are watching, which is the worst part. But, those times end up being
the funniest,
the best memories and the funniest memories.
Yeah.
And you end up, laughing about those times with the people that you were in them with and just having the strongest bond.
Yeah.
You're, stronger than any other bond and relationship, I reckon.
Yeah.
I did kind of crowbar you into saying that, but because I knew you were going to say that, but it's not as fun if I say it, because it's only when I'm listening to people who have been through it and have the results and the runs on the board of over a decade, or at least, of music, and really transformative songs that have helped people through their day and helped them with their kids. That would never have happened if you went, no, I'm not there yet. We should probably rehearse more.
Yes,
definitely.
I should say, for anyone that doesn't know our history, which is probably everybody, we did not start as a kids band. We have been, we started as teenagers, just in a band, our own non-kids band. It's funny, once you've got a kids band, then you have to like differentiate and say the non-kids band, the adult band, which is weird. Anyway, called the Little Stevies for years and years and years, and we still play shows mostly at festivals as a Little Stevies. # not a kids band. And then a few years ago, we started a kids' music side project called Teeny Tiny Stevies.
And that was really a way to, because we were having to ask ourselves some big questions of going, well, we want to keep playing music and doing this in some capacity, ideally the main capacity in terms of work. But how are we going to actually sustain that and turn that into something that we can do and prioritize amongst all the other things, all the other pressures and commitments that you need to fulfill. So this was our pivot somewhat.
And why not? To have something that you weren't planning on becoming amazing, suddenly becoming amazing. What's that like?
Really good. I mean, we were always planning on it becoming amazing, of course.
I mean, we were hoping.
we always knew we could do it. It's just would people notice?
I think maybe that also is an example of the slight. Maybe you need a slight element of delusion to keep doing.
Oh, you gotta be so deluded.
Music for such an extended amount of time. But with that, you also you lead everyone else along with you. Your families and then your kids, and you make everyone believe that yes, this is the thing.
This is happening. This is the next thing.
I love it. And when it comes to being in a band and touring, as you mentioned with kids, I think Hanson, I think there's 21 kids. I think between the three of them.
Oh my gosh, is there?
So many kids. Yeah, Taylor's got 7 kids. But look at him. He's like 6'1" and beautiful. He rose. Gorgeous. I'm pregnant just thinking about him. Like he's just
fair enough. Yeah.
What are the challenges there? We understand a lot about what it is in someone's career when they have kids, and the moments that their career path and their trajectory around that. But what is it in the music industry? We don't hear that much, unless you're Rihanna and you got enough money to just go, I'll be back in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I like this. I reckon everyone who has a kid could probably relate to this. But I know that when I had my first kid, it really hit me when he came out that someone needs to be looking after him at every minute of the day. Like I can't, so logistically, that becomes very difficult. Someone has to be looking after these kids all the time. And even if you're not the one looking after them, you're the one organizing the person who's looking after them. And if that falls through, then you have to organize, and reorganize the logistics of that. And all of that is weighted on you, and you're carrying all of that responsibility.
And you're still trying to find ukulele strings in Rockhampton.
Exactly. So yeah, that's tricky. And then when you talk about music and touring, I guess you don't hear of it happening a lot because it's just really hard. Logistically, it's very difficult to travel to lots of different places within short amounts of time with kids who require car seats and who need to be fed and slept. And there's an element of them being able to fit in to what you do for sure. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't make the experience of doing a load in and a sound check
that have to happen at a certain
unpleasant if
time.
they're screaming because they're like, I'm tired and I'm hungry. I want this thing now, but you're busy doing the other thing. And so, that's not really comfortable or pleasant for anyone.
Yeah.
It's not like the old days where you can just put them to sleep at the feet of the people in the VIP room with the other kids.
That's right. No. Well, there's no VIP room or anything at our house. There's no room at our church. Yeah.
No RSLs, right? Oh well, at least you're playing decent hours. At least you're paying. You're not.
That's true.
You're not on stage at 10 after 2 other bands.
No.
You're on early, which is good, but it means getting up early. I'd love to talk about music education and the importance of music education with kids. Was there a point when, as an adult, you started to appreciate? You spoke about a little bit. What is it about getting into music and playing and singing when you're really little? Like I'm talking 3, 4, 5, like preschool, literally preschool. Reflecting on that, is there a point where you think about the value that has and how we might value that in our community around like funding or different programs for schools?
Well, I think it's definitely, it's so essential for everyone at that age and beyond. I mean, it helps everything. It helps your self-confidence. It helps your self-expression. It helps navigate relationships, all of the things that we use every day with connecting and relating to other people, it boosts, I feel anyway. And then sort of beyond that, the other skills that you learn in terms of discipline, that you don't realize you're learning until a lot of time has passed. It's sort of that compounding effect of, practicing regularly, and you hate it at the time, or
That's true.
a lot of us hate it. Like, oh, I've got to do the practice again, if you're doing an instrument at school or whatever. But then you look back on the sort of compound effect of that and go, oh, wow, look what I can do now. And that's really, really cool. And then, yeah, just that bond that you have with other people through that shared experience is amazing, because you're being vulnerable. When you're being creative, you're being vulnerable. You can't not be vulnerable. And I think through that vulnerability, you make deep connections with people.
If people wanted to, kind of, if they're not a musical person, or they may have didn't have parents who played in a touring band, and they understand that they might have missed, or they want their kids to get into music, what are some ways that people who go, I don't have a musical bone in my body, I can't hold a note, what are some ways that they might be able to help their little ones engage in music?
Well, obviously listen to Teeny Tiny Stevies. Putting that aside, yeah. I used to just go to all the local community things that were on offer, musical groups, and there's so many of them. And I think the people that run those things are absolute superstars. It's not for me.
Running them.
Running them. No. You might think that that's a similar thing, but I was like, no. But I appreciated going with my kids.
Yeah.
I loved just having that time every week or every, whatever, to go and sit around with other parents and other kids and, just bang on something or pick some bell up and like make some stupid, whatever. It was freeing, and, it felt like there weren't many rules about anything,
and just have instruments around the house. As
Yeah.
annoying as it is,
it is annoying.
to have a keyboard plugged in, or like a drum machine or something like that, or all the percussive instruments.
Yeah.
It's just having access to the stuff.
That's so true, actually, having access. We've got the keyboard, my little practice keyboard that's plugged in all the time. And when every screen in the house is off and there's literally nothing else to do, some of my kids, one of my kids, I only have 2, not 7. One of them will go and sort of start fiddling around or whatever. And I'll, be doing something in the kitchen, and I'll just look over and think to myself, that's some good parenting there.
Yeah. And also, one just last thing is to and I noticed this at my house, and I know this may not be for everyone, but when I do my yoga or whatever, over time, my 2 kids have just started, and it can be very annoying because they really do interfere with my
Your
flow.
flow. Yeah.
But they start copying, so
true.
even if you're not musical yourself, I don't know.
Yeah. So
try to model.
if you're
in
not
some
musical
capacity.
yourself, don't sing. Otherwise they'll copy. No, I'm kidding. Sing, always sing.
Sing, which leads me to the beautiful part that I adore about your band is the way our brains work with learning things.
Yeah.
We can learn things if I speak something to you,
Yeah.
you can learn it. But I can tell you the phone number of a pizza shop in Brisbane from 1986 because it was sung to me on a radio ad once.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all
Isn't
know
that wild?
What is it about when we add a melody to a piece of information?
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. And that's it. That was a big part. Like when we decided to Teeny Tiny Stevies has big intention behind it. When we started to when we made that choice to do this side project, which has now become the main project, we were like, all right, because it wasn't even necessarily going to be kids stuff. I think at the time we were like, well, should we do like a comedy act or
It could still happen.
Thankfully, we did kids music. Thankfully for everybody. We decided for us that if we were going to write earworms, they're going to get stuck in kids' heads and parents' heads. One, we wanted the music to sound sophisticated and good, like music you want to listen to, or you're happy to listen to, you're happy to bring into the house. And 2, with the lyrics, we were really mindful, and we always have been with everything that we put out, that the lyrics are useful, in some way useful. So if they're going to get stuck in your head, it may as well be something that is helpful.
Or is a way in the way I've used them is like in the middle of, like it is 6:15 and we still haven't had dinner and there's no bath yet.
Oh,
If you can throw a song that suddenly kind of hits a circuit breaker
yes.
about what we're trying to do.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what we, it really helps.
How good is music as a circuit breaker as well? As a musician, it is alarming how often I forget to put music on. Like, I'm not the person in my house that puts music on, which is a real shame. But I really appreciate when my partner puts music on because I'm like, oh, I love this stuff. What is it?
It is real. It's really special, and the kind of music that you create, and that it is, yes, very useful, is the reason that, because the volume and not the decibel level, when you are a parent of little kids, the volume, as in the amount of times you hear a song, is impenetrable.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, if they like that, you are gonna know every drum beat forever. They will not want to play it ever. You'll listen to the same song 1,000 times in a row.
Yeah.
And so some stuff that isn't helpful, like there's one particular show that he watched, Wolfgang. We got two. One's 19, one's 4.
Yes.
The little one, he'll watch one particular show and it does nothing. It's just like 22 minutes of bright colors, and the only joke is a person falling over. That's the only joke, but it's used in 77 different ways. And I was like, whereas the other one, I can sing you a song about structural engineering in 30 seconds. I can sing you everything I need to know about aerodynamics and, Isaac Newton's first law of motion. Like, it's really cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So to have a song that I can sing to Wolfgang about going to the toilet,
It's handy.
is super fun.
Yeah. It's handy, isn't it? It's funny as well as an adult or as a parent. Oh, I think we're all similar. Like, without even realizing you're doing it, you're kind of, oh, I really like this. This is terrible. Oh my gosh. Like, and the stuff that you can get something out of as an adult, I always find that I'm putting it in front of my kids more.
Yeah, for sure.
If it's something that I'm finding enjoyable or.
And so, when we're recording the songs and writing them, that's definitely at the forefront of our minds too.
Yeah, that parents are going to be listening, that they're the people who are going to hear these songs over and over.
From it.
And so they need some enjoyment from some decent sounding music. And also, sometimes, like I was spoke about, the lyrics can be useful, but often we like to put a little
nod to
the who are we talking to here? I did that.
Always. That's what makes it good. I think if you're creating stuff for a children's television or children's musical audience, you can't just sing a dumb song that has lots of squeaking sounds, which was every LP that I was given as a kid. No, it's got to have some oomph about it.
Yes.
And like when it comes to music, playing music for kids, tell me about playing stuff that isn't just kids' music.
Well, look, it's really fun to play live because you look out into the audience and you're witnessing all of these beautiful interactions between parents and their kids.
Yeah.
So live, that is something that is really special and very enjoyable for us.
Yeah.
And kids, they enjoy it in all different ways. Some kids sit there like this the whole time and then they can't stop talking about it for the next few weeks. And then other kids are dancing on the dance floor. Other kids are just, are sitting and just
quietly.
Looking, staring, which, when we used to play Little Stevie shows, we would often, I shouldn't say often, come off stage. But, there were definitely times where you go, oh, that person really didn't look like they were enjoying it.
Well, yeah, that's that. Mia Dyson's got that quote, which is something like the look of concentration can be confused with the look of, what is it?
Boredom.
Wow, that is, and it is. I know exactly the look you're talking about. And it bothers,
yes,
it bothers you. There's 100 people in the room.
And you're only looking
one of them, 99 are having a great time. And you're like, why isn't that person,
Yes, you're trying to get them.
It bothers you in the same way that when you're playing a festival slot, before the end of your set, people sometimes walk out because they can catch someone else who's starting.
And you don't keep your eyes on the 500 people still there. All you're doing is looking at the 10 people walking around. Go, where are you going?
They must be hating this.
We suck.
The big song, the one you're waiting for is coming.
Yeah.
Let's give up now.
Do people recognize you?
Do people recognize us?
Yeah, when you're out.
It's happening a little bit more lately.
Well, now you're not sugar gliders. Now you're putting videos of your actual self up.
Yeah, people recognize you a lot more. I get social media messages about where you've been. I got one the other day about one of you at wherever,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that wasn't me, but that is where Beth lives. Yeah, that was Beth.
But I feel I'm getting a little bit self-conscious because I do, and I'm totally probably projecting this, but I feel like there's potentially this little element of people who follow the band who might think that we're parenting experts.
Oh, we're not. Oh, no.
And that couldn't be further from the truth. And so sometimes when I'm interacting with my children, when it could be better, and I could be an improved version of myself, sometimes I think, if someone knows the band, I wonder how this might look.
Yeah.
Oh, mate,
I mean, you know a little about this.
dude,
Exactly.
the only expert, like you are just singing songs about stuff that everyone else is trying to get their kids to do, and whether it help, you get changed by yourself now, and we're going to help you do that, or tickling is fun until it's not, and here's a song about I'd like you to stop that, or this is my body. It's really cool concepts that you want to be able to, it gives you language to speak to your kids about it. That's nothing that that's the same stuff everyone talks about. And to think that someone would look at you and go, you have to be perfect because you wrote the song. Like, come on, man.
I know, that's
some days you go, no, literally, you are going to watch 10 straight episodes of Fireman Sam, and I'm going to close my eyes.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's
And no one's going to have a problem with that.
no.
And if they do, fuck them. Like, it's like they don't have little kids, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
yeah,
I do.
it is.
I do worry that people have seen me,
I worry that too.
but like speak. I was going to say, I'll choose my words carefully. Speak loudly at my children in Kmart.
That's the place to do it.
That's right. I said stay
Don't
here.
touch that. Put that back.
Yes.
We've already got one. No, you can't have one just because they've got one. I don't care if their mum lets them have that one. You don't have that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
No one's not said that before in Kmart.
Yeah.
It's like IKEA. If you want to have a fight with your partner, that's where you go.
Yeah.
100%.
When you're in the big hall at the end there, that's where people have arguments with their husbands and wives and partners. That's the joy.
Yes.
It's part of the experience.
True.
When, because I mentioned Sesame Street, I was interested to know how, I'm guessing, or email shows up.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Oh, great. Our foray into the kids' world, it just wasn't a long time. We weren't a long time in. So it felt very validating.
But that was probably one of the first experiences that we've had of someone basically giving us a brief and going, we want a song about this. It has to be this long. It has to be this tempo. It has to be this kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then they had pretty specific
feedback
on lyrics and musicality and all that stuff. So that was, there was quite a bit of back and forth.
Yeah.
And which was a really good experience to have.
Yeah.
And I think what we came up with was great. Like in the end,
it's a good song.
It's an excellent
song. The
song.
other day, actually. Yeah, it's good.
But I think as well through that process, it was just really good practice at setting ourselves up for the next couple of albums.
Yeah.
Which is what we did, was writing to a brief, essentially. Writing to the themes that people wanted songs written about.
Yeah, exactly.
And people not only love you because they come along to your gigs and buy your stuff, but the industry thinks you guys do a pretty good job. You've even got a very pointy medal award that says so.
Yeah, we won an ARIA.
Yes. Yeah. Mine sits on the kitchen bench, like sort
next to the rice cooker.
Next to the rice cooker. We eat a lot of rice. I like to look at it every time I put the rice on. But every now and then someone will go, oh, why don't you look at that?
Yeah. I do videos like just with it, just in the background, like just.
What's that there?
What's that there?
It's
the ARIA. Yeah.
It's not a subtle object.
No.
There's a reason that, a person who may or may not have been in the Cruel Sea was rumored to have used one to help demolish the Siebel townhouse at some point.
Right.
At an ARIA after party.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
They're gigantic, heavy, pointy, weaponized things.
They really are.
Did you have a fun night at least?
No, we were in
It was during lockdown.
It was lockdown. It was 2020. I mean, we did have a fun night.
Yeah, it was
But
great.
we were in this room actually.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
were. This is right here is where we won the aria.
What does a COVID lockdown aria after party look like?
Well, we had our
Ooh.
elderly parents there. It was just.
And then probably immediately after it, we were probably on our phones for about an hour.
We were, because we had to go into
Yeah.
that waiting room, that Zoom
Yeah.
waiting room, that press
It
room.
was like instant elation, and then it was very quickly.
Yeah, that's right. And so we had to just sit on the computer for this, this moment where apparently all the press were going to ask us questions. Of course, no one asked us questions. Like, it was like we just sat there for no reason at all. And then we and everyone that was here, which was literally 3-4 people, sat out there, probably getting this moment's passed, hasn't it?
And then you went to bed.
And then we all, just went to
Exactly.
bed.
The latest song that you put out as of this recording involves lyrics that have been provided by people who have only known English for a number of, years, if not months. And
Yes.
it's beautiful.
Yes, it's good, isn't it? It's really good. So
It's like magical,
it's like magical. Yeah.
which is the title of the song.
Yes. We asked kids what it feels like to them when they're being creative, which is a bit of an absurd question. And they answered it so well. Pretty wild. But then like some of these answers were just so like, oh my God, I never would have come up with that. I never would have said it like that, but it's so on point. Yeah, and we're able to just like take all these lyrics and put them together, and it's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very catchy.
There's something that songs can do for us. They can help. I love music. It's a emotional time machine.
Yes.
And it can bring you back to that moment. It's one of those things like our olfactory senses. The smell of an opening biscuit tin. I'm at Grandma's place. Like, boom,
Wow.
straight away.
Yeah.
And our brains just have this ability to just light up with associations, particularly around particular chord structures or key changes, or, the drum hit in Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You."
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
There's your goosebumps. Music can also be used in a way to talk to kids about difficult things, and if it's in song, it's sometimes easier. There's already cartoons talking about climate change. For God's sake, Octonauts does episodes about the red fox moving into the Arctic fox's burrows now.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly. Yeah.
it's them migrating north. Like, do you see a role for music in helping our young people and parents indeed navigate these kind of conversations?
Well, that came up a
Definitely.
lot when we were asking for, themes, what parents wanted themes about in one of our last albums, climate change, and that sort of came up a lot. So we decided, for this album, we're all in. We're doing a whole album
about sustainability.
about climate change and what's sort of happening. And it's been the greatest challenge because we're really, really mindful that, I think I do this. If I feel judged, I turn off from things. I'm like, I go, you don't know what I do, whatever, like I think it's really difficult to get the right balance. And I hope we have, that's sort of on our mind with literally every word we say in this. And I hope people listen to it as a whole piece as well. Like I hope they don't listen to one song and think and go, oh, blah, 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 and then like don't listen to the next one, which is I'm trying to think like what, like one song is literally probably we're going to call it climate change or whatever. Yeah. But then like the next song is called no one person can solve all the world problems, so it sort of deals with everything. It deals with the overwhelm, and it deals with all of it in a family friendly way, I think. And we really focus a lot on all the positive things that are coming out of this, and there's a lot of positive. There's a lot of smart people in the world, so much smarter than we are, doing incredible things. And so we try to shine a light on that as well. So hopefully it's inspiring. I'm listening to, is it Sarah Wilson? I'm listening to her book right now, This One Wild and Precious Life.
Claire O'Rourke is also extraordinary. If you were to, I think I find Claire O'Rourke amazing.
Claire O'Rourke. Okay, great.
Claire O'Rourke, she's very, very good around that space, around the look. It's overwhelming. There's something. Everything has to change, which is great because it means there's something to do everywhere. And the feeling of being in action is the alleviation of the anxiety.
Yeah. I think so.
100%. And I have definitely had this feeling during the process of writing these songs, and just like a little bit of fear of knowing, that we're going to be putting this thing out. And whenever you put something out, it's judged by a whole group of people, and people will have opinions on the thing that you make. And then you might have media opportunities, that you find yourself in, or interviews that you're doing. I also have recognized the fact that this is the biggest impact that I could have.
Yeah, that's right.
As an individual,
Yeah.
us doing something like this,
Yeah.
this is going to be my greatest reach as an individual. So
Yeah.
why would I shy away
Start
from
where
that?
you are.
What
This
a,
is where we
what
are.
a, like, that's not good modeling for my kids.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's, it's a bit like the parenting thing as well. It's like, we're not perfect parents.
No.
So don't think we're perfect. I buy things with too much packaging. My compost wasn't working for months. I think it's working now. But it's like, in fact, I didn't have one last year. It's been a real journey. Like, but I think you've got to start somewhere. You got to do what you can do. And
Yeah, and there's a lot there, and I couldn't be more happy that you are committing to do this, because you're right. There is no more important thing
no.
to write about, to talk about, and to sing about, and it doesn't have to be grim.
No. And I think as well, like when we talk about the anxiety we feel around it, imagine our kids taking on this level of anxiety that we are feeling about this.
Yeah.
I don't want that for my kids, but they will have it. No doubt they will have it. I hope that some of these songs can be used to sort of just to deal with that. Like they don't need to take all of that on, and they can feel good and positive, and they can take steps, and they can learn about the little things that they can do. And no, it's not all on them, and no, it's not their fault. Not at all. But like,
Oh no.
they should feel empowered because this is their world, and they can change it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Thank you so much for making such wonderful music that gives parents like me the tools and the language and the music and the melody to make a moment otherwise less difficult. Thank you.
Oh, thanks,
pleasure.
Osher. It's so lovely to chat with you.
Yeah, really nice.
It's been very fun.